Waking up knowing there's a reason. All my dreams come alive. Life is for living with you. I've made my decision. You lift me up, fill my eyes with wonder. Forever young in your love, this freedom's untainted. With you, no moment is wasted. See the sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turn to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. This is living now. This is living now. You lead the way, God, you're right beside me. In your love, I'm complete. There's nothing like living with you. This life you created, I choose. See the sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turn to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. This is living now. This is living now. You take me higher than I've been before. It's your perfect love that sees me soar. God, your freedom is an open door. You are everything I want and more. See the sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turn to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. See the sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turn to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. This is living now. This is living now. You take me higher than I've been before. It's your perfect love that sees me soar. God, your freedom is an open door. You are everything I want and more.
I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your face. I can't deny your heart from mine, and it's unreal to chase. I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. La 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 la. When I let go, then I found life.
The highway is calling me to a life unlike before. The Father's heart is beckoning, and I can't resist no more.
devotion. Don't wanna get caught in emotions. My heart is only for you, Lord. Oh, so I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. In oasis, here awaits us all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. La 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 la. When I let go, then I found life. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. In oasis, here awaits us all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. When I let go, then I found life. Oh, when I let go, then I found life. La 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 la. When I let go, ooh la la, ooh la la. When I let go, then I found life. Ooh la la, ooh la la. When I let go, then I found life.
Hey guys, I hope that you've enjoyed worshiping with us. I love both of these songs and both of these videos. The first being from one of our Naz Youth worship nights on Zoom, and the second being from our awesome Naz Youth band from our grad weekend this past weekend. I just love how talented you guys are and how we can still come together and worship, how we can still celebrate these things, whether it is through a Zoom worship night or through grad weekend, and just having different videos compiled to make an awesome worship song praising God. But I just want to talk to you a little bit about what we're diving into next. We did just finish up a series called Welcome Home, where we followed alongside the church in our main services, as well as all of the rooms that they went through in a home. And so now we are going to dive into a little bit of a different series called Quarantine at the Movies. I know we've done different series like Summer at the Movies, where we've talked about a different movie each week, and it's kind of the same idea. But since we are quarantined, since we are still in a shelter in place and we can't get together as much in person, with each movie that we talk about, we're going to watch it together. So we are going to start off with some Netflix movies with Netflix Watch Party. We'll post the link every week so you guys can join. We'll tell you what day and what time, when to join on with us, and then you can watch the movie together with us. And there's a little chat bar on the side so we can talk through the movie. You can make little comments and different things, just like we could if we were watching it together. We're also hoping to do some like drive-in movies or movies on site, even if it is socially distant in the trunks of our cars, or, if we're able to get into the building and do something like that in the gym and be socially distant. We are wanting to get together in a more in-person way during this time. And so at least for the next probably 2-3 weeks, we're going to be doing Netflix videos, and then we'll see if we can get together. And we'll let you guys know as soon as we have those dates and times. But today we are kicking off with the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So this is the old one. This is not the Johnny Depp Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder. And I love this movie. I was looking for movies just to talk about, movies that I loved. And this is one that I adored as a kid. I loved it. I thought it was so fun, so cool. Even if it is an older movie, I just loved it. I loved the music. I loved even like the tunnel scene freaked me out as a kid, but I just loved this idea of this magical chocolate factory with Oompa Loompas where people came in, and also all of just these dynamic and ridiculously goofy children characters with their parents. And so today I want to talk a little bit about something that we see in this movie that applies perfectly with where we're at right now in life. So as you guys know, I'm sure you guys have seen this, even if you've just seen the Johnny Depp version. In this movie, it's the same idea, right? Based on the Roald Dahl book, that has these children that get golden tickets. They go to the chocolate factory and they walk through and all these different things. But it's kind of like in Matthew 20:16, where it says, so the last will be first and the first will be last. Like, this is that kind of mentality, because Charlie, spoiler alert, Charlie ends up winning the whole thing. He ends up winning this contest that the golden tickets were a part of. And it's because all of these other characters, like Veruca, Veruca Salt and Violet and Augustus, they all have something that they're kind of for an ulterior motive. They're there because, Mike TV can't step away from the television. Veruca is just the spoiled child. Augustus, he just eats everything, right? Like, he's there purely because he eats so much chocolate that there's no way he wasn't getting a golden ticket. And Violet, she is a champion. She is driven. She is like, I'm going to win, so of course I'm going to get a ticket because I win everything, and I'm obviously going to win this. But they're all so confident in themselves, in what they do. They're so focused on either getting chocolate or winning or getting what they want. They're so used to these things that they assume that this falls within it. And Charlie, being a kid that really doesn't have much, where his grandpa, gets off of his bed and dances the minute he gets it. He got it from like a chocolate bar he thought he was going to win with for his birthday, that he gets one a year. Like, I love chocolate. I cannot imagine getting one chocolate bar a year. But he wins, and they go, and it's his first will be last will be first, because Charlie ends up winning. The underdog, the unsuspected victor, like, he wins it all. But as I was watching through this movie in particular, there were two things that Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder's character, says at the very end of the movie that just hit me. And so I want to talk about one first, and then I want to show a clip to you guys about what this is going to look like. But the first thing is, we know that all of these kids have gotten kicked out, essentially, right? They've been rolled off to be juiced like Violet because she turns into a blueberry, or all these different things. And Charlie's left there. And so Grandpa Joe goes up to ask when Charlie's getting his lifetime supply of chocolate, because he won. And Willy Wonka says, you didn't win. You broke the rules. You drank the fizzy lifting juice, and now it has to be cleaned, and you've done all these things, and now you don't get anything. And Grandpa Joe is infuriated. Like, he's like, let's go. And at the very beginning of the movie, when all these kids had gotten their golden tickets, a guy named Slugworth comes and gives them this everlasting gobstopper that's supposed to be not released. They don't have the recipe, whatever. He doesn't give it to them, but he asks for it. And Slugworth says, if you can get me this, like, I'll make it worth your while, right? Like, I will give you whatever. And so Charlie has this gobstopper. He has it in his pocket, and he has the opportunity to get back at Willy Wonka, who's wronged him. They feel that they've been wronged. This rule wasn't explained. And so Grandpa Joe says, Slugworth will get that gobstopper. Let's go, Charlie. And Charlie, just with this sweet little innocent look on his face, goes back, says, Mr. Wonka, and puts down the gobstopper on the table. Even in that moment when he's probably so disappointed, he's just going back to his life that really isn't that great. It's not going that well. He gets by, but like, his family's not really thriving. They're just barely surviving. And he lays down that gobstopper and walks out. And Willy Wonka just kind of wraps his hand around it, and he says, so shines a light in a weary world. And I loved that, because Charlie in that moment is a light in a weary world. Wonka has been tired. He brought these children in for a specific purpose, and he feels let down. He feels disappointed, probably just feels heartbroken and sad. And then this child does exactly what he hopes he would do, and he returns this thing to him. Instead of using it for a different purpose, he brings it back and gives it to him. And from that moment, we know that he says, my boy, you've won. Like, you've done it. You've won. And so I want to show you this clip, because from then he says, you've won. And then They get into the Wonkavator and they say we can go whatever way. And somehow magically they end up shooting through this glass ceiling and this thing is floating and flying in the sky. And Grandpa Joe and Charlie are checking out all these different places. And then Wonka looks at him and says something.
You did it, Mr. Wonka. Congratulations.
Get up, take a look.
Grandpa, our town looks so pretty from up here.
Yeah, look over here, Charlie. I think I see our house.
Wow.
It really looks beautiful.
There's my school, Grandpa.
How did you like the chocolate factory, Charlie?
I think it's the most wonderful place in the whole world.
I'm very pleased to hear you say that, because I'm giving it to you. That's all right, isn't it?
You're giving Charlie the...
I can't go on forever, and I don't really want to try. So who can I trust to run the factory when I leave and take care of the Oompa Loompas for me? Not a grown-up. A grown-up would want to do everything his own way, not mine. That's why I decided a long time ago that I had to find a child. A very honest, loving child to whom I can tell all my most precious candy-making secrets.
And that's why you sent out the golden tickets.
That's right. So the factory's yours, Charlie. You can move in immediately.
And me?
Absolutely.
What happens to the
The
rest?
whole family. I want you to bring them all. But Charlie, don't forget what happened to the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted.
What happened?
He lived happily ever after.
I love that clip. I love that Wonka looks at him and says, "How'd you like it? It's yours." And then he says, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? It's mine." And he says that quote where he's saying, "You know what? Like, I'm not going to live forever and I really don't want to try. So I knew I was going to have to bring someone in to take over my chocolate factory and take care of the Oompa Loompas." And I love that he says, I can't have an adult do it. They would just want to do whatever they wanted, not what I wanted. And it just made me think of the scripture in Matthew 18:3, where it says, "And he said," Jesus, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." And I feel like this goes hand in hand with what Willy Wonka is saying, what he is saying in this scene, in this moment with Charlie. Because adults, I know you guys are young adults. I know you guys are still growing and maturing, but I feel like there's a certain level, and I hope I don't get to this too soon. I will try to avoid it for forever, but we get into rhythms. We get into ruts. We get into cycles that it's hard to kick, right? It's hard to kick these habits. It's hard to shake these rhythms that we create for ourselves. And it's hard to leave just the outline that we've created for who we need to be, get out of the box that we try to make ourselves fit into. And so Willy Wonka, when he says, I don't want to have an adult run my chocolate factory, they'll do what they want to do, not what I want to do. A lot of times, I think as he's saying this, and as I'm thinking about this verse in Matthew where God's saying, you need to become like little children. Little children are more likely to believe what they're told. They're more likely to have faith. Not necessarily like if I told you pigs fly, right? A 3-year-old might believe that, but at the same time, they soon realize that that's not true. But children have this unparalleled faith. That's why they lay out cookies for Santa, right? That's why they get excited when all these things happen, but also they trust who they follow. They know that their parent wants the best for them. They know that their parent loves them, and so they have faith that what they say is what's best. And as you get to be a teenager, as you get to be a young adult, you start doubting that what other people tell you is for your benefit. You start sometimes thinking that you know better than what your parents say, what your parents think would be best for you in a certain season. And sometimes I understand that. I can get how we've been hurt, right? We've been hurt by people. We've been disillusioned by manipulation, by people trying to work what they want into situations where they should be looking out for our best interests. But we know that with God, that doesn't happen. We know that with God, there is no manipulation. There is no ulterior motive. There is no using us as pawns for his greater gain. He wants to see us flourish. And so here in Willy Wonka, when he says, my way, I want a child to take over so that they can do things my way, it's because he knows how to run that factory. He knows how to care for the Oompa Loompas. He knows how to do these things. That doesn't mean that there's not room for innovation. That doesn't mean that there's not room for creativity, to dream of bigger things and work together, but that he has knowledge and understanding. He has wisdom to be passed on. He knows the best route to do these things. He knows the building blocks to go off of. And so with God, it's the same way. We need to trust that he knows what's best for us, that he wants to lead us in a way that helps us to flourish, that doesn't, stomp out and crush our creativity, our innovation, our dreams. Guys, God is the most creative person. We have creativity because of who he is. That's a part of us because it's a part of who he is. Look at creation. Look at all the animals. Like, God is the ultimate creator. So any creativity and innovation that we have is a reflection of who he is. And he knows how to use it. So just like Willy Wonka, with Charlie looks at him and says, it's yours. It's yours for the taking. I can't have an adult do this because they'll want to do it their way. I need a kid because they will do it my way. We need to trust God and not be a stereotypical adult, right? We can be an adult with a childlike spirit that with faith follows God, that obeys who he is. And even in the midst of a pandemic, we can seek his face. Because I think in this time, in this season, it's really easy to think that we know what's best, right? We see all the time on the news right now, people are protesting, whether it's because they want out of the pandemic or they think we're moving too fast. I watch different things with Facebook comments and all these trolls that are just saying their opinions as loud as they possibly can, as many times as they possibly can. A lot of times we think that what we think is best should be done. But in seasons like this, God knows best. In every season, he knows best. But in particular seasons like this, when we can use our voices to be as loud as we possibly can, when we can be Veruca Saltz, saying, I want out of pandemic, right? When we could just be absorbed into our television, into our televisions, when we can take these moments and look at them wrongly, when we can distort the opportunity that we have here to be a light in a weary world, that we have the opportunity to be like children so that we can follow God's way, that we could have that faith. In times like this, it's really easy to just listen to the voices that are the loudest. But just like in Willy Wonka and the Charlie Factory, Charlie wasn't the loudest, but he did have the most faith in these situations. He had the most humility, and he looked to the people that he trusted, that he looked up to do the right thing, even when his response might have been a little out of character or out of understanding for the other characters. But I want to challenge you guys this week. Take some time. Think about this. Think about how you can be like Charlie, how we can be childlike, not in the way that we act or that we keep our rooms, right? Don't get me in trouble with your parents, but just in the way that we can have an outlook on our situation, how we can trust God with this situation, how we can look to him knowing that he knows best. And even if we think we know what's best, he'll make what he knows best is going to happen. And we need to be faithful and walk alongside him, and also just continue to shine in a light that is so weary and so dark, and to use those opportunities to do just that. But let me pray for you before we go. God, I just thank you for this time that we've had together. I thank you for each of these students, these leaders that are watching this video. God, I thank you for movies and how they're not just these secular entertainment times, but they are opportunities for us to see your gospel in action, even in a secular setting, in a secular world that we live in, just that we can see glimpses of who you are through their narratives. But God, we thank you just for this opportunity to look at how we can be more childlike, how we can be moldable by who you are, that we would be not too rigid, that you can't mold us almost like pottery, almost like clay, that we wouldn't be too rigid, that you can't move us and mold us, and we wouldn't be just soupy where you can't create anything out of us, but we would have the right structure, we would have the right integrity, but also be flexible enough to be molded by your will and your will alone. That we would understand that we don't know best, but you do. And we will faithfully follow where you call us and how you call us to act. But God, I pray that you would be throughout our small groups and our times together. And we love you and we praise your name. Amen. Awesome, guys. It was so great spending time with you tonight. I hope that you really enjoy your small group time. And just to let you know, tomorrow night, Thursday night at 7 o'clock, we are going to watch this movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, on Netflix Party. So if you haven't already, I will go ahead and post the instructions on how to download Netflix Party and get it up, as well as the link to click on that. We'll post that Thursday night, probably around 6 o'clock. So look for that link in our Instagram bio as well as Facebook. But look for that. We definitely hope to see you watch this movie with us. And next week, we'll be checking out Back to the Future, where Evan Gantz will be bringing the word on how we can see God through that time. So check out social media to see when we're going to be watching that movie, and look forward to hearing him talk about Back to the Future. Bye, guys.